Hello, this is Wesley Boudreau with the Retirement Group. Today I'm going to give you a really quick update on the December interest rates and how they're affecting the Chevron pension lump sum. And we're seeing a continued decline in interest rates over the past few months, which is also increasing lump sum payments you may receive if you take the pension as a lump sum. And before I get started, if anybody has any questions, as always, give us a call at 1-800-900-5867. We'll be happy to run your specific situation to let you know what the different options are you may be looking at as you transition to retirement. Now, for those of you who do not know who the Retirement Group is, again, we are a independent financial advisory firm that focuses on working with corporate employees and helping them transition into retirement. We've been doing this for about 30 years or so, and we've done this quite extensively with Chevron employees. So we've been through plenty of EOIs and plenty of offers and helped many people retire and make sure you don't make any mistakes on their transition. So by doing this, it allows us to give you a full understanding of your benefits plans, so we can hold your hand to that process, and whether you work with us or not, just make sure you don't make any mistakes and leave any money on the table. We've got offices throughout the country, so rest assured we'll be happy to meet with you face to face, but we can also work via web or phone. And at the end of the day, whether you work with us or not, one of the biggest benefits we recommend you take us up on is to either run or update your cash flow analysis if you've run one with us already, because especially with the markets changing, as well as with interest rates changing and affecting your lump sum, it's really important to update that if it's been longer than 6 months or so. Now, as far as Chevron employees, depending upon where you started, you may have been Chevron at the beginning, you may have been Texaco, may have been Caltex, may have been Unical, may have been Gulf. But ultimately speaking, there's many different plans associated with Chevron, but a lot of them are going to have the same or similar pension calculations. So what happens is the basic pension calculation is a formula-based, where it's going to look at your years of service and your final average pay to determine how much you're going to get as a single life annuity. From that point, there are different options you can look at, whether this be the single life annuity, whether it be a lump sum, which we'll talk about today, whether it be life and certain if you want to add some certainty to it, make it 10, 15, 20-year period certain, whether you want joint survivor for a spouse, or whether you want the uniform income, which is a little bit different, where you get a certain amount before Social Security kicks in, you get a higher amount, and then it drops once Social Security kicks in, so you're able to get the same income throughout retirement. But today, again, we're going to talk about the lump sum. Before we get into the lump sum and interest rates, one key thing to remember is that you don't necessarily get 100% of your pension unless you are looking at retirement and you've made it to age 60. Here's a quick chart to kind of give you the age penalties associated with it if you take your pension prior to age 60. So let's take a look at these highlighted ones. As long as you've reached 55 points, which many people do based upon age and years of service, you look at that far right-hand column, you're going to be looking at somebody with over 55 points. Let's assume that they retire and commence their benefits at age 60. They're going to be getting 100%. However, if they were to retire and commence their benefits earlier, there's a 5% reduction each year that they do so. So in this example, we look at this age 55, somebody's only getting 75% of their pension. Now, that doesn't mean once you retire, you have to take your pension. You can actually defer commencement. And we've worked with plenty of clients where we've talked about doing that. We're actually working with a few right now that retired back in the summer, and even against their desires to take their lump sum immediately, we've explained to them that we need to wait. And by waiting, we've actually seen increases in their pension lump sum by tens of thousands of dollars because of these declines we're seeing in interest rates right now. So, but keep in mind, there's the issue associated with age penalties. But then if you're taking a lump sum, there's also the issue with interest rates, which is what we'll talk about shortly. Now, as far as interest rates and how they're used to calculate the pension lump sum, what happens is, again, the single life annuity is your base form of income or pension. From that point, what happens is Chevron's going to take a look at your age and interest rates to determine a discount factor as to how much they have to pay you. So you can essentially go out and try and recreate that same annuity over the rest of your life. So the older you are, the lower that's going to be, because you're getting closer and closer to your potential date of passing, unfortunately. The younger you are, the higher it's going to be, because you're going to be having more years ahead of you that they have to pay you out. So we take a look at this chart right here, the seesaw pattern. One thing to keep in the back of your mind always is that as interest rates go down, which you're doing right now, your lump sum is going to go up. And the vice versa is going to happen. If and when eventually interest rates will start to rise, the question is when and how quickly, you'll start to see a lump sum decline. So some of these values I'm going to talk about today on increases could actually be decreases in the coming months or the coming year or so. It just depends upon where interest rates will be. So what they're going to look at is they're going to look at the first, second, and third segments to determine the actual interest rates used. Those are the Pension Protection Act segment rates. And the first segment correlates to the first 5 years of retirement. The second segment correlates to the years 6 through 20. And the third segment correlates to the years 21 and beyond. So again, depending upon your age, every person is going to have a slightly different calculation. But for the most part, that second segment is going to be the bulk of the years in most retiree individuals. So that's the one we want to focus on when we see some of these major interest rate changes, because it's going to have a bigger effect on you. So in order to look at the rolling monthly average, what they do is they look at the previous third, fourth, and fifth month. So if we look for December 2020, you'll see this right here. We're using July, August, and September averages in order to determine that. So if we look at the December 2020 blended rates right now, we're looking at 0.54 for the short term, 2.26 for the second segment, and 3.06 for the third segment. Now we've also added here, if you look the last couple months, November, October, September, and all the way back to November last year, just for reference to show you what's happened to those interest rates. If we look at if you were to retire right now and commence your benefits right now in October, and we look at that mid segment, it's actually 2.53. However, if you were to wait until December, that 2.53 comes down to 2.26. So about a quarter point change. What that means is roughly when interest rates change, a 1% change will equate to anywhere from an 8 to 12% change in your lump sum. So just for simple math, let's say 1% equals 10%. So in this case, a quarter point change is going to affect you by about 2.5%. So that means if you ran your calculations for October and you had $1 million in your lump sum, that now would be $1,025,000 if you wait till December. So again, it's very important to understand these interest rates. Now, the opposite can happen if those interest rates change from December to January, February, March, or going forward, and they move up. That same change could take you from $1 million down to $975,000. So it's very important to run that cash flow analysis with us and get on our distribution list so we can update you monthly how these interest rates are changing. If we go farther back, we look at November of last year. That was as high as 3.3%. So we've come down all the way from about 1% change, which again, in that example, a $1 million portfolio or $1 million lump sum last year could be 1.1 million. A $500,000 lump sum last year could be $550,000. So again, it's just very important to understand these and be very careful about when you do elect your pension. Again, you don't have to elect it and commence it immediately, especially if you're going through EOI right now. It's very important to understand the month-by-month transition, and we can help you through that, and it could save you tens of thousands of dollars. Now, at the end of the day, as we mentioned, it's best to actually run a plan. So right now, about 3/4 of Americans don't have a financial plan. All we need is about maybe 5-10 minutes to gather some data that you have, and we can put that plan together for you and help you determine the best day to retire so you maximize those benefits. Now, obviously, at the end of the day, we'd love to make you a client. We'd like to work with you. But again, we want to at least make sure you don't make any mistakes as you transition. And whether you work with us or not, hopefully you'll put in a good word or pass this information along to the next person. If you are working with somebody, we do recommend getting a second opinion. We actually recommend our own clients do this every now and then. Make sure the person you're working with has a full understanding of your benefits, including the health, the 401k, the pension. Make sure you understand their fee structure. We are fiduciaries, so we are transparent. Not a one-size-fits-all firm. Our goal is to run through that cash flow analysis and back into multiple options for you and help you determine the best fit. Make sure, again, you're working with an experienced team. It's not just one person trying to do everything. At the end of the day, make sure you run that cash flow analysis, but again, make sure it's a conservative cash flow analysis. Don't be too optimistic. You don't want to make any mistakes on it. So I want to thank everybody for this quick update. Again, look out for the email in about a month for the next update. But again, any questions, give me a call at 1-800-900-5867. We'll be happy to help you out. Thank you and have a great day.